Good morning and welcome back. You're still watching Power Breakfast right here on Citizen TV. We do apologize for the delay. We were waiting for this esteemed and distinguished gentleman. As I mentioned earlier, today we're not having a usual news review. Instead, we're having a discussion about this city of Nairobi, and we're going to have a very distinguished panel. With me this morning, we have Deputy Governor Jonathan Mweke. Good morning. Good morning. We do have Dan Shikanda, who's the running mate to Peter Kenneth, who's running for governor for Nairobi. We also do have Polycarp Igave, who's running mate to Mike Sonko, who's running for governor in Nairobi. Good morning, friend. Good morning, Karibu Sana. So you do realize we do have a very unique panel. I don't think we've had this kind of panel anywhere else. We rarely get to host gubernatorial running mates. Did I get that one? Yeah, you did. Nairobi gubernatorial running mates. This morning we do. Gentlemen, it's good to have you on set. And perhaps to let my viewers know that this is not a formal debate, so we do not expect 90 seconds for your formal initial submissions and final comments, but probably we have to start somewhere, and I'd love to give you a chance to say exactly who you are and why you think you have a better plan for Nairobi. Jonathan Mweke, you've been on this set previously on our news review, which usually occupies this time quite a lot. So yes. Let me start with this gentleman, then I'll come to you later. Dan Shikanda, why do you think you want this job? Why do you want to run Nairobi?
We have seen where Nairobi was before, when services were working, when everything is working. And now we are seeing a Nairobi which is at a standstill, deteriorating. And that's why some of us who are Nairobians decided, no, something has to be done. And it will not take a nuclear scientist to change a number of things in this city. It will just take honesty and somebody with passion to make sure that services, again, start being delivered to the Nairobians. As we, where we stand today, there are no services being delivered to the Nairobians, especially the basic services, where there are no drugs in hospital, there is no water. Water is life, and there is no water in our mtars, in our houses, and this one makes Nairobi look bad. If you look at Nairobi, it's actually drowning, sinking in garbage, and that's why some of us said, no, we have to stand and be counted, and I think we offer the best option. We offer the best tickets.
Polycarp, you had a big job. You had a good job. Why would you want to leave and become deputy governor of Nairobi?
Fred, thanks for that question. I had a good job, but I'm going for a better responsibility. My country came calling, and the reason why we want this job, so I can answer your original question, is because we are a partnership with my boss, Mike Sonko, of compassion, of competence, of accountability. And we have the willpower to deliver a very beautiful, prosperous, safe city. We think we can do a better job for the city of Nairobi, perhaps, than the incumbent government that has been there. And by a better job, we are defining it this way, that will leave Nairobi very clean and very bright, very well lit. Make it very lush and very green. Make Nairobi very safe and secure. Make Nairobi a livable and hospitable place with good health centers and very good education facilities. And last but not least, make Nairobi a place of wealth creation and jobs and prosperity. So we're businessmen. Those 5 things, if we achieve them, that's why we are looking for this job. We are not looking for this job to embarrass the incumbents. We are not looking for it for our own personal aggrandizement. We seek to serve.
Yes. Mweke, of course, listening to the two gentlemen who want your job, at least they've agreed on something. They both mentioned the issue of garbage. But why do you want to retain your job? You've had it for 5 years. I know in discussions I've had with you and with other deputy governors, the role of a deputy governor is not really properly defined. In fact, if you do not have a proper working relationship with your governor, then you end up becoming a flower girl. And this job has actually been described by some as a flower girl position. And I'd want to hear what your comments on that. Why would you want this job for another 5 years? I've had other deputy governors on this panel who said, nah, I can't do that for a day longer.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, now you've asked me two questions, so I'll answer them very quickly in two parts. Nairobi was completely mismanaged in the pre-devolution days. The governor and I both grew up in Nairobi, and we love this city deeply, so we teamed up to come and be the first governor and deputy governor so that we can be able to remove Nairobi from the hole, cut out the cartels, and begin to build it on a successful path. What has happened in the last 5 years has taught us a lot. It's taught us that theory of wanting to fix Nairobi doesn't work. You need meticulous planning because the city was mismanaged for 30 years. So in 5 years, you can't put all the investments in the water system, in the sewer system, in the road infrastructure system. In 5 years, it's impossible. Even if you brought who to do it here, it's impossible. You can't do that also if you don't have financing. You can't do that if you don't have a clear implementation plan. And implementation, people do the work. So if your organization is not structured with the right people to be able to do the work, then your ideas are only in the head. So as a deputy governor, why I would not mind continuing is because the vision is the same, which is to make Nairobi the place of choice to invest, work and live in. And I'm able to execute that vision because I have a good boss. You are right. Deputy governors mean nothing if the governor has no political goodwill. So some of the things I hear running mates saying, and some of my colleagues here saying they're going to be able to do, it will be completely impossible to do them if your boss is not in the same track in terms of vision, in terms of political goodwill. My boss has shown leadership. We work together. We have specific areas where we go apart and work. There are other areas we come together and work together. It's been a good working relationship. So for me, I'd want to continue with this job because I know anything that I'm passionate about that I'd like to do, my boss is mature enough to let me do. What are we going to do for Nairobi? I've seen our opponents put out manifestos. What manifestos are is a dream. And some people's dreams are valid, so I'm not saying dreams are bad. But manifesto is a dream saying from the outside that you know what is wrong, or you think you know what is wrong, and you come up with solutions on how to fix it. The reality is, and I'm talking now as somebody who was in this section before, the reality is by the time you come in and you notice that a lot of the things you put in your manifesto are impracticable and cannot be executed, you spend another 2 years trying to figure out what is going on. Then you start getting another plan after those 2 years to try and move it.
Are you saying you changed your plan midway? Because
yes, we did.
You had to change everything.
What we thought was there
is
really what was not there. Remember, we were on the outside. And that's why incumbency is very important, especially if you started whatever.
And before
that's why we have this document, a strategic plan. This is not just a manifesto. It says what needs to be done, how to finance it, how to gear your organization to be able to finance it, and how to implement it.
If I hear you right, you say when you were campaigning to be to take over the reins of the city, you had a manifesto.
Correct.
Midway, you changed and came up with a different document called Nairobi City County Strategic Plan.
It's not a different.
So this one is 2015-2025.
Correct, and we came in 2013. So what you see is you come in and you find out your manifesto can only do quick fixes. You cannot have a successful, sustainable organization if you're doing quick fixes. That's why this is 2015 to 2025. It's our vision 2030.
And gentlemen, before we get to the nitty-gritties and the manifestos and your plans for the city, let's talk about the role of a deputy governor. And Bwana here, as he described, his relationship with his boss has helped him to work, and that's why he wants to continue on the job. But if you look around the country, and you look at the situation that some deputy governors, and this is the job you're looking for, they've not had a very good relationship, and some of them cannot even be described as ceremonial. Some of them are non-existent. Some of them do not even have a position within the county executive because of the poor working relationship. Why would you want this job as a deputy governor? Because we've seen in some situations where you become totally, all these plans you have come to naught.
Fred, it depends where you start from. If you've just been picked by somebody else, yeah, to be a deputy governor to Peter Kenneth, it will not work. But if Peter Kenneth picks you because you've sat down with him, you've grown up together, you have actually seen each other doing different roles, and then you come together by the two of you agreeing there is a job here to be done. Can we team up and come up and do this job? It is different from somebody just coming and picking, Fred, you will be Mweke's running mate. Once you're patched to him, it will be very difficult for you guys to have that chemistry. Me and Peter Kenneth, we have actually grown up together, played football together in this estate, and we've met at a number of places, yeah, worked somehow together. So when this thing came up, when I was approached, we were many of us who were approached to become the deputies to Peter Kenneth. Then we went through some interviews, and then at the end of the day, he had to pick a person he believes he can work with, a person he has worked with him before. So when we get this job, it will not be I'm working with Peter Kenneth because I've met him yesterday. No, I have seen him, I've seen his track record, I've seen him actually implementing a lot of things. And for me, I'll be his deputy. And then in leadership, respect is important. Yeah, if you respect your boss and your boss respects you, I don't think we'll end up in situations I've seen most of the deputy governors ending up into. Okay.
Now, the regime in the corporate world is totally different.
Absolutely.
The hierarchy is clearly defined.
Absolutely.
Now you're dealing with a politician.
Absolutely.
They cannot be trusted.
Yes.
And when together, you are working with a politician. What happens if Mike Sonko becomes governor and you his deputy, and he decides to totally ignore you?
Fred, let me start by using a Swahili saying, Mgala muwe lakini haki yake mpe. And I want to pay credit to our incumbent deputy governor, Mweke. I listened to him very carefully and other deputy governors when they speak about the role of a deputy governor, because the wearer of the shoe knows where it pinches. And your original question was, are deputy governors flower girls? So let's stick with that for a bit. I think when we went into the devolution exercise, when we need to be commended, and all incumbents need to be commended for the work they have done to move this mountain from zero, or for even underground, maybe to on ground, in establishing. So we, even as we critique and we compete as opponents for the seat, you have to acknowledge that they've gone through the mill. You know, they've gone through the mill. But number two, if you notice where there's been the biggest fight between a governor and the deputy governor, it's actually been a serious personality clash, where especially where deputies, we are deputies, we are not governors. That's why we all refer to our governors as the boss. And what is a deputy? You can Google the word deputy. You stand in, you step in for. So if you have an insecure governor, if your governor is insecure, if your governor feels that you're trying to outshine him or do the other, or as in politics is listening to too many parties, then that relationship will not work. I can assure you, the most secure person is Mike Mbuvi Sonko Kioko wa Kivanguli. For him to hire me, because I've been hired by the best in the world. I have fixed some of the best multi-million-dollar businesses here with shareholders sitting elsewhere in the world. From my experience in Coca-Cola, from my experience in Diageo breweries, from my experience in Shell Vivo, from my experience in Hako Tiger Brands, to come here when you say corporate. The difference is, in politics and in public life, you must have public participation. The processes are different, they might take slightly longer, but you must be an egoless person. And I can tell you, if you are a partnership, you know, they say, in fact it's physics, Fred, they say what? Repel. Like terms repel, opposites attract. If you see people who are very alike, they will repel. but if you see people who are very different, they attract. And between me and Sonko is a serious attraction. We serious attraction, because he brings such political capital, I bring such managerial capital. And I can tell you,
have you dealt with politicians before?
Yes, I've chaired the Kenya Association of Manufacturers. I've been a director of the Private Sector Alliance. I've led some of the biggest lobbies in fact even lobbies to our incumbent government about some things in Nairobi to happen. I have chaired the Kenya Anti-Counterfeit Agency. I know cartels backward forward, and I can tell you the leading ones in Nairobi. I've been chairman of the Special Economic Zones Authority of Kenya. I've been in public life for a long time, quietly as a private citizen, and I'm very clear what I'm coming to do here: to be a partner to make my governor make it happen as he leads in politics. That's all.
I want you to answer the other question.
So sure. Now ask the second question.
What if Mike Sonko becomes governor for Nairobi, and then he decides to totally ignore you, like we've seen some governors ignore their deputies totally? What happens? Will you resign and go back to corporate world?
You asked me a really nice question, and I can tell you he will not do that. First of all, it is not if, it is when. When he becomes governor on 9th of August, kwa mapenzi yake Mwenyezi Mungu and the support of the public, we will work very well together. I started working with Mike Mbuvi Sonko when I noticed the work of God that he's doing. That man is the Nehemiah who's going to come and rebuild a broken city, or a city that has not been built yet. And I'm going to support him in that. I have stepped up to a higher public responsibility, having achieved what I could have achieved in private sector, and coming from a very, very humble background, and working with a lot of prayer, with a lot of hard work, with a lot of discipline. And we are brothers. And let me tell you, even the presidential, you remember 2002 when we had the NAC dream, it was broken because people focused on the power play between number 1 and number 2.
And that's historical politics. This plan,
historical politics, not future. You know, and that's why we're inviting you, especially all of you, to stop looking backwards. The rear view, you don't move in life on the rear view mirror. You move on the windscreen. You move on the windscreen, and that's why your eyes, your nose, your mouth, your legs, everything faces forward. Why are you so in love with the past?
I could ask you the similar question because you are a politician, but I think Dan Shikanda, the name is synonymous with a lot of sports, and that's how we come to know Dan Shikanda. Not really in politics. Peter Kenneth is a politician. What if Peter Kenneth becomes governor and he totally ignores you?
Fred, I'm also a politician. I vied in Makadara in 2007. Actually, I won the ODM nomination at that time. But definitely, as you say, with politics, anything can happen. It was taken from me and given to Ruben Nono. But you see, when you're in politics, of course, anything can happen. But it depends with who you're dealing with. History tells us a lot of things. And if you look at track history of people and what they've done before, you can actually predict what will happen tomorrow. It will give you some certainty that this animal behaves like this. This person, I think, can behave like this.
So
and as I get into this,
on trust?
Yeah, I'm operating on trust. As I get into this, I know the person I'm dealing with. He's a person whose track record and trust can actually be trusted.
Polycarp, you're also operating on trust.
Not just trust, courage and hope.
Courage.
I'm also adding the two.
You need courage.
And you've seen, I've even been shot at, and you've seen my courage. The only 3 things you must fear in life is God, electricity, and hot porridge. Don't be a coward. If you're a coward, you'll never move forward. You have to live on trust, and courage comes from deep faith and abiding belief in God Almighty. And if you worry and you're concerned about tomorrow, actually it's a sin in any religion, because you have no faith in tomorrow. And our generation, Fred, our generation cannot be fearful and cowardly. Our fathers were not, our grandfathers were not. We must move forward and fix things.
Deputy Governor, now this gentleman wants your job, but you have a very big document. In fact, for the very first time, I've never seen the Deputy Governor come with so many documents. Fred, let me question to you now. Now, as we delve into the real issues, what ails Nairobi? And I know from an incumbent's position you might want to paint a rosy picture of the city, but the truth is everyone in Nairobi is complaining about something or the other. What, in your own opinion, ails Nairobi?
Fred, if you can allow me just to contribute to the governor running mate discussion, because without that there is no county. For me, I don't have to explain my relationship with the governor, because you know we are one of the only few people who've worked together. We've even been called by very serious quarters that we are the example of how a governor and a deputy should work together. And that's why I won't comment on my relationship with the governor, but I want to really advise my two friends on the comments that they have just made here on national TV. First of all, dalili ya mvua ni mawingu. I can already see the cracks in their relationships. One, Mr. Dan Shikana, you are not the first choice for PK. PK had chosen a running mate called Lilian Miherme.
Lynette?
Yeah, Lynette Miherme, just before the nomination. So you're an afterthought. That means that the kind of gelling you think you have is not there. We have the clip, it was whatever. She was even in a campaign poster. Lynette Miherme from Dagoretti North was PK's first choice for running mate. After he lost the nomination, he changed. You don't have to respond to that, but just be very careful about that, because what you think it is, it's probably not. Polycarp, I've heard you say trust, I've heard you say hope, courage, hope. That works in the private sector. In government, everything, and just believe me, everything revolves around the law. Everything. There's nothing you do in government that is not in law. And if you go outside of that law, however trustworthy you are, however hopeful you are, however courageous you are, you end up in jail. That's government, and that's the reality with it. So I invite you to read the County Governments Act, section 30, subsection number 3B, which talks about administration of a county government. It's vested solely on the governor and not the deputy. And then F, management of resources of a county government, completely to the governor and not
nothing
the
to
deputy.
The deputy.
So there is no machinani governor, like I hear Sonko saying, and office governor, like I hear Palkap saying. If you guys do that, it's against the law. You'll both go to jail, and it's not workable. So there are some things you are saying that you will do as a deputy governor. If you did it, you will end up in jail. And that's the practical thing about it.
I have to give the gentleman time to respond to this. Yes, there is no law that defines, and it's very right. I'm trying to look for it. There's nowhere where the role of a deputy governor is actually defined.
We are principal deputy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if the governor decides, I do not need this man or woman who is my deputy, then that's it.
Maybe before I answer your question, let me answer his question. You see, when Peter Kenneth decided to vie for governor of Nairobi, first he was in Jubilee, and at that time it was supposed to be the Jubilee team to choose for him a deputy governor. A number of names were floated, about 15, yeah, and also my name was there. The Lynette he's talking about, yeah, her name was not even in those 15 names. But what she did, she went ahead to start following Peter Kenneth all around campaigning, yeah, and it reached a point even some of us were called, yeah, we were told your names are the ones shortlisted, join the governor in his campaign trail. But some of us were working in the private sector. You could not be seen all over on TV in a political rally or what, yeah. So, as Mweke is putting it rightly, yeah, Lynette was not chosen by anyone. She went ahead and printed posters just to try and win. Yeah, that favor.
Posters
yeah,
with her name as a running mate.
With a picture and Peter Kenneth's picture as a running mate. But nowhere was she elected or chosen as Peter Kenneth's running mate.
Yes.
Yeah, Peter Kenneth had to settle for his running mate.
Yes.
And when he came to independence, in fact, the game was done because he chose his running mate independently. No forces were actually no forces were pushing him to choose a running mate.
Yes.
And that's how he ended up being his running mate, because he still stuck on the same list, interviewed all of them, and at the end of the day he settled on me. Why? Because of our history together and because of what we've done together, and everything we've done together has been successful. And I can assure you, Nairobi will be the next thing we're doing together, and Nairobi will prosper. It will become a world-class city under our watch.
Okay. But Polycarp Igathe, your role is not defined. Not by law, not by any contract, not by any acts or of parliament or the county assembly, nothing. You're just going in blindly, hoping that Mike Sonko will give you a job and define your role.
Yeah, Fred, I first of all welcome the counsel from my brother, Deputy Governor Mweke, and I'm not saying that in jest. I am being truly sincere, and I want to thank him for quoting the section he has quoted. Yet I want to go above that and say this. The gridlock in this country, my brothers, is the fact that we've allowed Kenya to be gridlocked by lawyers and their legalese. What you've just spoken about is what I call legalese, legal language. Law is a process, but that process has an outcome. The letter of the law and the spirit of the law expected a certain outcome. The outcome of everything in our constitution, everything in our statute, is to deliver fruit, prize, service to the public, people who are defined in Article 1 of our constitution, the people of Kenya. When you have leaders who sort of have a challenge in delivering results and then quote subsection 1, you know, we sort of frustrate the public. What the public wants to see is, at the end of the day, use those laws, use that process, because it creates equity and fairness. And I completely agree with you. I'm not challenging anything you said, but it's our work to navigate that process to deliver the result. And my
navigate means you're ready to play the politics.
Fred, allow me to finish. Fred, allow me to finish. And even in private sector, we used to have something called manual of authorities. I never used to wake up in the morning singing the manual of authorities of my business to my staff or my customers. What my customers saw was a good product, a good service. And I can tell you now, let us stop demeaning politics. Politics is very good. Politics is, look at how we are sitting here. We are three running mates, three opponents for office. We are not tearing at each other. We are not eating at each other. We are just saying, here is my different point of view and here is your different point of view. Something has changed. We are doing politics better than our fathers, better than our grandfathers, if you like me. And our generation, therefore, cannot be tied down to all those things. What I'm really excited is to see that we have a plan up to 2025. What I can say is we'll accelerate it and deliver it even faster than you have done, because people have said you've been rather too slow, because I think you've been tied down by those statutes and those processes. You've tied yourself down to a little hole of lawyers. And I can assure you, Mike Mbuvi Sonko and I, we are not saying I'm not a governor. I'm a deputy governor. And Fred, I invited you, and I invite you today to Google the word deputy. That's why I agree with my brother Mweke. Yes, the role may not be as clearly defined as that one of a governor. But if a governor accepts to deputize, to have a deputy, to actually delegate responsibility to you, you'll get the job done. And that is what Mike Mbuvi Sonko Kyoko has chosen to do, and he will do, and Nairobians are ready to give him that responsibility on 8th of August.
You know, Fred, I like being practical, and I'll give two very specific examples. Polycarp, you might have misunderstood me. You keep saying I as the deputy governor. Why we are talking about this is because it's not about you as the deputy governor. It's not about us as deputy governors. It's about the governor. The issue is not you, Polycarp. I know you understand governance, you understand management. The issue is Mike Sonko. I'll give you two examples. I know both of them, Polycarp and Mike Sonko. Actually, Polycarp and I belong to the same leadership fraternity, so I have deep respect for him. Polycarp is very pro-business. Mike Sonko has come out on record and said he's going to tell hawkers to open their wares and sell their wares in front of businesses. Polycarp is not going to allow that because it's pro-business. Okay? And when he goes and tells his boss, this is not the right thing to do. You can't go and tell hawkers to go and open their shops and sell their wares in front of people's businesses. Mike Mbuvi Sonko will quote for you this law. But I've just told you. But I told you, boss, I am the governor. It's me who does this. Mike Sonko has said to decongest matatus and remove them from town. He's going to go and put them in Uhuru Park. It's our only social space and environment harbor that we have in Nairobi that is protected in law. Yeah. Polycarp deeply loves the environment. That's why he keeps saying clean, clean, clean. He's going to go and tell his boss, we cannot have matatus in Uhuru Park. His boss is going to quote to him the same law he's saying is going to disregard and say, boss, I'm the governor, not you. And that's why I'm telling about the governor. It's very important to know the reality. It is about the governor. And unless your governor is able to trust you with some of these things, It's not.
And that's why I think
it is about the governor. It is about the
Yes,
governor.
yes,
yes.
It is about the governor.
It's about the
So
governor.
let's talk about this governor.
Yes.
These candidates that you're talking about.
Yes, it is. Yes,
Why
it
do you
is.
think your candidate is better placed than the other candidates to run this city? Why should we even consider Peter Kenneth?
My God, I think I'm better placed, or my governor is better placed to run this city, because if you look at his track record, he's been in public office and private office and delivered. And he has not shown any signs of insaneness, that today he behaves this way, tomorrow he behaves that way. If you look at him, he's stable, he's certain. You can actually predict what he will do tomorrow, because this is a person coming to look for this job with a serious track record, where if he's given this job, he will fix it. He's not just talking the way most of us are talking. Yeah. And if you hear what Mweke is saying here, Mweke is trying to tell us that we should separate ourselves from our governors. Yeah. Yes, we are deputies, but we cannot separate ourselves.
Yes.
We are a ticket,
Yes.
and we are going into this as a ticket. I expect
Yes,
Sonko
yeah.
and Igade to work as a team. Yeah.
Yet your governor has been criticized, your candidate for governor has been criticized. One, he ran for president in 2013. Then he stepped down, he's now running for governor. First of all, he wasn't sure whether it was Murang'a or Nairobi.
Or Nakuru.
Yes.
He's been on national TV.
You say he is certain that
He's certain.
yes.
Running for presidency, that was his democratic right. Let me give you a very good insight. CDF. When we had CDF, Peter Kenneth, CDF was #1. He did better than Kibaki, he did better than Raila, he did better than Uhuru, he did better than Ruto. So at that given time,
And those gentlemen you mentioned are not really rated highly in terms of CDF management.
and that's what I'm telling you, he was #1 for 2 terms. For him to run for presidency, even you can run for presidency. You will not be, I will not put a gun on your head and tell you, why are you running for presidency?
It is a move,
Yeah?
it's a shifting from presidency down to governorship. Then the inconsistency between, is it a governor for Murang'a?
The two
governor
leading
for
presidential
Nairobi?
candidates now, the two leading presidential candidates have actually run for presidency and come back to run for MP. Governorship is like a president of the county. Yeah. If you look at Nairobi, governor for Nairobi, when you be controlling 50 to 60% GDP, definitely that is a bigger seat than any MP position. The two leading presidential candidates have actually run for presidency and gone back to run for MP. So I don't see anything wrong in that.
Okay. I'll give you that. Your candidate for governor took part in a debate the other day on a different station, and he mentioned that his role will be political, and that the actual running of the county government will be left to this technocrat, one Polycarpigari. Why should we have faith? After all, Bonamweke says it is about the governor. Why should we have faith in a gentleman who says that his role will purely be political and he leaves the job to another person?
Fred, I will not argue. I will actually accept and very much welcome, and let's agree it's about the governor. Incumbent deputy governor is right. It's about the governor, and because it's about the governor, my governor has willpower, and my governor, no other politician in this country has gone and found and harnessed a constituency called the most downtrodden in society and taken that constituency and run with it. He's been doing the work of God in providing water, funeral services, emergency services, helping the poorest of the poor, including the credentials of Mike Mbuvi Sonko with respect to helping the downtrodden, the lower end of the society cannot be put into question, and I don't want to go into the testimonials. There are enough of them out there. Then number two, what my governor said in the debate, which no other governor said, including the incumbent governor and the other governor who we are competing with, is he said, I'm going to deputize operational management of the city, which is my responsibility to my deputy. This is what he said. And politics is, show me, even the president of Kenya is a politician. Everybody comes behind the politicians, and we have to follow the politicians, and that's how we have decided to structure. We shall have something called the governorship. We shall We shall work without any fights, and I think to a very large extent people have to accept, especially the people who are sponsored by the usual political cartels. That's why politics in Kenya is considered dirty. You know, politics also has its own cartels. Myself and Mike Mbuvi Sonko are, I like to describe ourselves sometimes as people who are gate crashers to the power party. People did not see us coming. So the usual cartels, when they try to reorganize themselves, they didn't see us. In fact, when we were announced, it was a little bit of people are quiet for a few days. I think they are just trying to recover now, because we were not sponsored by the usual cartels. In fact, our campaign even doesn't involve the usual cartels, and that is a story that will be written another day. We are going to win this seat kwa mapenzi yake Mwenyezi Mungu, because we've convinced Nairobians about this manifesto. And I want to tell my brother, the point to keep on repeating about a road through Uhuru Park is not inside this manifesto. This manifesto has been written by Mike Mbuvi Sonko.
But
allow me, and because it's not a debate, it's a conversation amongst friends. This is our guidebook, and what we are saying about a manifesto, I agree. A manifesto is a politician's dream. The first thing we are doing in 30 days is to call a Nairobi We Want convention, to then have a transitional and a reform master plan of how we are going to go, and we shall use all the source documents which are there. We are not coming in to rubbish everything you've done, trust me. We shall take care of you guys, and we want you to live in the city, and for you to enjoy this city and to see how a clean city, a bright city, a city that is green, a city without sewer, a city without cholera, where you can live life, where you can enjoy.
Let's give him a chance to talk about his candidate now. Who's taking the election.
Yes, but just before I do that, just
talk about your governor now.
Just put some. Yes, that's what I wanted to say. I want to talk about my governor. We're saying the same thing here. Yeah. Can you delegate to your deputy? Absolutely. And the Google meaning of deputy is exactly that. Yeah, that you're a principal assistant and you can step in for your boss. And we agree, and we've seen it work. Polycarp, what you're saying, we've seen it work in the Kidero administration, right? The governor has delegated to me some very sensitive things. He delegated for me to go and bid for the IAAF to bring it to Kenya.
Oh, well done.
Nairobi. I did that bid. I did that bid in Monaco.
Well done.
We were against Eugene in the United States and Argentina, and we won the bid. My governor delegated that to me. My governor, now let's talk about the issue here not being about the delegation and about the functions and how it works. The issue here is the personality. Yes. And that's why I like life, because life always has a track record. You call it the past, I call it a track record. I'll give Polycarp 2 examples that could make him think twice about his relationship with his governor. Number one is in
you seem to have an issue with Polycarp's candidate.
It's not an issue with Polycarp's candidate. It's just that he's the senator of Nairobi, and I've worked with him.
They're both incumbents.
Yes, he's the senator of Nairobi, and I've worked with him. And I just want to give, I'm here to give a practical example to Kenyans about some things. Yeah, Buruburu. There was kiosks that had filled all the sidewalks in Buruburu. Pedestrians used to walk on the road. Those kiosks became a conduit for putting drugs and guns in the kiosks at night. The governor delegated to me his deputy to take care of that. We formed a cabinet subcommittee that I chaired: inspectorate, health because of public health, transport because of the road issues, and environment. We went in, we gave those people notices, and we cleared them out of the sidewalks, so that people can walk on the sidewalks, and so that we can stop the menace of the boys hiding guns and drugs in those kiosks. The senator of Nairobi protested in writing. He even said that he was ready to go to jail to make sure that those kiosks came back. That is Mike Mbuvi Sonko that Polycarp keeps talking about. That is his value system. Now, we didn't do that because we wanted to do it. We did that because we got a petition from the Buruburu Residents Association, their chairman, Mr. Conchella. There's 400,000 people who live in Buruburu. We worked for them, we got them out, the residential association was happy. The senator protested in writing. I had to write back to the senator and tell him, Senator, I have no problem with you, you're a leader in Nairobi. Can we go and meet with the Residents Association of Buruburu and you tell them that you want those kiosks to go back on the road? He went mute. My question to Polycarp Igade is, because I know his value system, yeah, Polycarp would not want drugs and alcohol and guns put in a kiosk. Polycarp would want those kiosks out of the road. His boss doesn't. what would he do?
Okay.
That was
for you to talk about.
The second one was for Isili business community. The governor delegated to me to go and work with the Isili business community. 30% of the economy of Nairobi is generated in Isili. We went to work with Mr. Hussein, the chairman of the Isili business community, to get the hawkers out of in front of people's shops. I was able to go, sit with the community, sit with the residents of the Isili business, of the Isili itself, sit with the Isili business community. There's 52 malls in Isili. 52 malls in Isili. The hawkers had come and blocked the gates, the doors of the malls. Customers couldn't even come in. We got the hawkers out. We put them in the Nyayo wards where we have 5 acres, leveled the ground, gave them an alternative space. Mike Sonko led a demonstration for those hawkers to come in. Because we got the hawkers out, the business community now, the malls open until midnight, there's lights and people shop until midnight, and Nairobi's economy is moving. The senator came and asked those hawkers to come back and block those malls. Polycarp would not allow that. How would it work when his boss wants to do something that is anti-business or anti-resident and he doesn't?
Okay.
It's about the personality at the top.
Okay. Let's now come down to the issues. Now that we are clear about the personalities and the different candidates, there are very many issues. Nairobi has 1,000,001 issues that need to be tackled. Every regime is remembered for doing one particular thing.
Yeah.
Yes. If we remember the Kibaki regime, we say he built roads. And people, even in the streets, they will tell you, if he did nothing else, at least he built roads. What is the one thing that a Peter Kenneth, Dan Shikanda county government would give Nairobi? What is the one thing, and how would you do it?
I wish you said 2 things. Okay,
I'm asking about one.
One thing.
Yes.
We will collect garbage within 90 days and put in place measures to be collecting garbage weekly.
We've had that similar promise from someone else.
You know how we will do it? We will devolve from City Hall to constituencies. There is a vast human resource down there in constituencies. In fact, they are trying to do it. If you go to our constituencies, you'll find some youth trying to collect garbage, trying to clean the areas, but they're not getting support. There's no infrastructure to actually assist them. We are coming to team up with them and work with them and ensure Nairobi is clean in the next 90 days and put in measures to be collecting garbage on a weekly basis. When I was growing up in Nairobi, that used to happen. There was something we used to call cameros, these trucks which used to come weekly religiously and with timetables that today on Tuesday they will come through Maringo and collect. And we had some silver dustbins, where you put your trash, you put it out there. It is simple. It can work. It does not need a miracle. It is something we can do within just 30 days. Quick fix. And Nairobi starts becoming clean. But don't be cheated with CBD. When people see CBD clean, they think Nairobi is clean. Nairobi is filthy. Nairobi is dirty. Nairobi is stinky. And yet, we have a leadership in place. Both the Senate and the governor.
The other big issue in Nairobi, and enough of the reactions, and by the way, you can continue sending in your comments. Our text line is 22422. If my producer can assist me with this, we could sample some of your comments later. Remember the hashtag to use is Still Power Breakfast as we continue this conversation about the city. Traffic. Traffic is a major problem in Nairobi. Is it something you are looking forward to resolving?
Yes, let me...
Traffic congestion?
Yeah, thank you, Fred. We are our priority especially will be on non-motorized traffic. 50% of the people in the city walk to work. You will remember Governor Mike Mbuvi Sonko as a person who single-mindedly, ruthlessly focused on sidewalks and paved sidewalks in the city of Nairobi. This is perhaps a big downtown that we've never made sidewalks. People are breaking their legs walking to work. We have an unhealthy city because people don't even work. Pedestrian accidents, in fact, children dying of accidents. And we are going to make sidewalks. And an example of very good sidewalked street would be the new Kileleshwa road that goes through Kileleshwa. We will make sidewalks, pave them, and they will be paved by Kenyan labor, young people working, because that's hand labor. We will light them. We will remove the drainage, and we will make sure that they are secure, and we will CCTV them. That is a commitment we have done, and we will work from inside out, the way God works, not from outside in. You see, the incumbent deputy governor judges my governor too much from the way he looks and the way he walks and the way he talks. You've got to look at Governor Mike Mbuvi Sonko from the inside, the way God looks at people. And we are going to work from city center and come across, and we are going to implement and remark CBD to make sure we decongest Nairobi. That plan, that is a plan we have, and I can assure you, we will do that with the help of God and with everybody's commitment, including these two gentlemen who are now going to be out of office, and I will invite them to, in fact, I think they have such good ideas, because we are going to form the National Socio-Economic Council of Nairobi. I will use them as advisors, because they owe me nothing. They will just tell me honestly, they'll keep me honest. I assure you, we will take care of, you'll be the most taken care of brothers in this city of Nairobi on the 9th of August.
You talked about pedestrian traffic, but what about the motorized traffic? The
motorized traffic, we shall focus on getting the big bus rapid transport. In fact, our manifesto, you can see a Sonko and Nigathe bus showing you, we are thinking about park and ride stations. Where we will prioritize 60-seater buses, and even give incentive for people to bring double-decker buses into the city of Nairobi, so that you leave your cars up there and you're able to come in. Because, to be honest with you, the problem in the city of Nairobi is caused more by private cars. They're the least quantum of people, but create the highest congestion. So we are going to look at negotiating that and giving opportunity to investors of massive bus transport to come. And we are not going to be doing anything new. We grew up with buses where we used to call it Javelin, Nokumbuka, when we were young, coming in with those buses. But it's not as easy as I am saying. We will implement plans that are already sitting there. We know it's going to be hard work, but we have the faith and the willpower to make it happen, and we have the political goodwill. And let me close, Fred, by saying I will look for incumbent Governor Mweke after elections, and we will see whether they'll beat us in Isili or whether they'll beat us in Buruburu. That's the only response I could make to the accusations you make. We will look, I want to look at those specific voting. I want to look at those specific voting stations, and we will see whether what he has actually said is true. Proof of the pudding is in the eating, not in the process.
And solution, all these buses will be stuck in the jam. You have not given us a solution. You have not given us a solution, because all these buses will be stuck in jam.
Nairobi residents are watching this show. Whatever solutions you offer, they will listen, and they know what is practical, what is not. And I don't want you to spend too much time rubbishing what they've said. You have been on the job for the last 5 years, and you want the job for another 5 years. What is this big thing that you want to do for Nairobi? What is this one problem that you want to resolve for Nairobi?
I'll answer the question you asked them first. What have we done?
What have we done, or what we can go? What is this one problem that going forward in the next 5 years that you want to resolve for Nairobi?
I think it's housing. For the next 5 years is housing. I was going to say what we've done that has helped Nairobi in the last 5 years, which has been street lighting. I think our next phase is housing. There is a housing crisis in Nairobi. The last time public housing was built by the city of Nairobi was Buruburu in the 70s. So over 40 years we've not built one single house. We have 17,000 housing units right now, 17,000 units under the management of the city of Nairobi since the history of Nairobi in 1900 to now. So over 100 years, 120 years, we've done 17,000 units. We already have a plan.
This is formal housing.
Yes, this is formal housing, because we are trying to say that we need to get people out of the informal settlements, out of the slums, which is very difficult to bring services into the informal services. That's why they are called informal. It's very difficult to bring water into the informal services, electricity into the informal services, sewage, because it's informal. You can't even get in the first place. So we want to resolve that by creating and building decent, low-cost, safe, and affordable housing for Nairobi. We have already done the plan. We've already tendered it. We've gotten the developers. We have signed contracts. We are now going to break ground in the next 6 months to build 14,000 brand new affordable housing units in Nairobi. That's going to be revolutionary, because we've only done 17,000 in 100 years. We're now going to do 14,000 within 5 years. That is in Pangani, Nyungara, Olgara, Ngong Road, Suna Road, Uhuru Estate. So we've gotten all those done. The sites are there, the plans are there, they're approved. We're just waiting for the title deeds to be finished so that we can break ground.
It's part of the strategic plan.
It's part of the strategic plan, and we've been implementing this since 2015. It's just about to come into fruition in our next term. So in our next term, out of all the things we're going to do, I think the one closest to my heart is put Nairobi into clean, safe, affordable, low-cost houses.
Okay, so we're talking about garbage collection, we're talking about, I know that I did not ask you, I told you about traffic, so you had no choice. But if you were given an opportunity to decide which one issue, without going deep into the nitty-gritties of it, which one issue you think needs to be resolved for Nairobi, what would you say?
Health. Sewage and hospitals. Sewage. 65% of raw sewage in Nairobi goes into a river. Out of 1 million households, or 980,000 households, only 20% are covered by sewer. When we leave office, and we are really committed, we shall have decentralized sewer systems that generate clean water back into our environment. And we will also make sure that health and water, sewer, water, sanitation and garbage, let me just call it water, sanitation and garbage and all health, and that will reduce the level of infant mortality from 49 deaths for every 1,000 people born here, because our health system has actually collapsed. That is what we shall address. Make sure our hospitals are good, that we have medicines, and the whole health ecosystem. Remember I said make Nairobi livable and hospitable. A place can't be livable and hospitable if 50% of the population is on long drops, pit latrines. When you don't have a sewer system, a rivers going through Nairobi, and it's a city of rivers, is all full of, it's a flowing sewer. When there is such an acute water shortage that you lose 50% of the water in distribution, that people only get water twice a week. I have a niece of mine who lives in Parklands, has to go to my sister's house to go and brush her teeth across the other side because they are not getting water, and you have a fully funded Nairobi Water Company. So water, the issue of health, water, sewer, hospitals, this is a real focus area, and,
so
and we shall invest the right amount of money in this.
So health, garbage collection,
Fred,
and housing.
Fred, when you asked me this question,
yes,
you didn't say in 5 years, the way you put it to them. Yeah?
No, I asked the one. And that's the same question I've asked to Banapolikas. I said the one thing. He said health, you said garbage, you said housing. Yes, garbage collection, not garbage collection. Sorry, but now the next question comes. You've grown up in Nairobi. You say you've lived in Nairobi. You've seen the government that we've had. What do you think has been the biggest missed opportunity in the last 5 years?
I think the biggest missed opportunity is the current government did not get their act right, because they inherited a system where the infrastructure, no one has done anything. No one has done anything on the infrastructure. If you look at the water system, the sewer system, it is the old water system, the sewer system that we have. If you look at housing, what he's saying, there's nothing which the population is expanding, but the infrastructure is not expanding. So they missed it by not focusing on the foundation. What can we do for Nairobi to work? They came in and focused on other issues which will not give them short and long term gains. Because if they came in and decided to look at maybe water, we are having serious problem of water in this town, and that's why their parting shot is they're leaving us with cholera. Because if you look at everything that is happening, it's revolving around not giving water, not giving basic services to the Nairobian. So infrastructure, we need to reconstruct our infrastructure and expand it, especially something like water. We are losing 50% of our water in distribution. Water is coming from Dakaine. 80% of our water comes from Dakaine. But the thing they missed, why don't we have water? Because we are losing half of it on distribution as it comes. We needed to put trackers and see where is this water, where are we losing this water? Who are these cartels actually closing or locking up water so that it doesn't reach the headlands? Water is there, but we just need to be more proactive. We should not be working on just disaster. We need to be proactive and see what can we do. Take responsibility and make sure that Nairobians get services. What I think it can be, it could have been the short-term priority to make sure that we have water. We could not be having the problems we have at the moment.
Yes, and without rubbishing that, going back and looking at what you've done, what do you think that you would have done differently in the last 5 years if you had another opportunity?
I won't rubbish it, Fred, but I think as an incumbent, it's also my responsibility to ensure that the public is not misled. We don't lose 50% of water. We used to lose 50% of water when we came into office. It's called non-revenue water. Now we are losing, excuse me, we are losing 30%. So we've reduced it by 20%. The world average is 25%. If you look at non-revenue water around the entire world, on average, is 25%. The goal for Nairobi Water, which is a company that's owned by us, is to get it 20%. Non-revenue water is not water getting lost, it's also water getting stolen. So tankers like the Sonko rescue team, we have to ask them, where are you getting your water from? Because what happens is people go, they shut down our water, they steal it, put it in a tanker, then they come and sell it or give it for free to the Mwananchi for philanthropic reasons. That's why we say, where is this water coming from? So I just wanted to put that into perspective. I think the biggest missed opportunity for Nairobi has been funding, and I'll explain why. The national government brings 300 billion shillings to devolution. If you divide that by 42 million Kenyans, it means every Kenyan per capita will get 7,100 shillings per year. That is nationally. Now, let's come down to Nairobi. Nairobi now is getting 13 billion shillings for devolution from the national government. There's 5 million shillings who live in Nairobi. 5 million people who live in Nairobi. If you divide 13 billion by 5 million, you get 2,600. So while nationally every person is getting 7,100 shillings from the government, Nairobians are getting 2,600. So the person who did the formula for Nairobi got it wrong when they were saying how much money should Nairobi get. Because services are there to serve people. The more people you have, the more services you need. The more services you need, the more money you need to fund it. So while somebody in Turukana is getting 7,000 shillings a year, the same person in Nairobi is getting 2,000 shillings a year. So we've not been able to accelerate the development of Nairobi at a pace we need to because we've been lowly funded. That's just one aspect of the funding. The second aspect of the funding is providing services and not getting paid for it. We've provided services to the national government for sewer, for parking, for rates, and the national government have refused to pay us. They now owe us 72 billion shillings. 72 billion shillings with a 25 billion shilling budget means that's our salary for 3 years. I just ask the viewers, I want to ask the viewers to ask themselves, if you go to work every day and produce something for your employer and they don't pay you for 3 years, how are you expected to pay your rent? How are you expected to take your children to school? So Fred, even as you're asking my opponents what they're going to do to Nairobi or for Nairobi, because dreams are valid and dreams are fine, but they don't mean anything until you articulate them. Please also ask them, how are you going to fund this? For example, Dan, with your sewer, you say you're going to put a new sewer system. A new sewer system costs 30 billion shillings because we've done the master plan. Okay? Your entire budget for Nairobi is 25 billion shillings. So if you used every single cent, both locally collected revenue and money you get from the national government, you still will not be able to build that new sewer. Okay. So how are you going to fund it?
And I'll give you an opportunity to when next you get to respond to this. As you say, what missed opportunity you think there has been in the last 5 years that this government would have actually done? The problem of informal settlements in Nairobi, I think, is one of the biggest issues that we are grappling with. More than half of Nairobi's population does not live in the formal settlement. Yes, Nairobi has a huge population. Half of that population lives in informal settlements. We're talking about Kibera, we're talking about Mukuru, we're talking about Madare Valley, those slums. Do you think it's a problem or it's an issue that can be resolved? Do you think there's anything that can be done?
I want us to come to that question second. I want to stick with your first one about the one thing. In my leadership journey, I've come to learn one thing. Do not blame the weather. Change your clothes. Okay? And I think this is happening at very many levels, where we are always blaming the weather. And this is why I'm telling the viewers out there and the voters out there, let's change the politics in Kenya this year. Let's create political congruence between devolved units and the central government. Because what my brother, incumbent Deputy Governor Mweke, is talking about, and he has said something very profound, which I'm going to capture on, which makes the point I made earlier about Governor Mike Mbuvi Sonko. He makes a very valid point. When they did the Commission for Revenue Allocation, the formula they used to allocate revenue, he's saying something very valid there, and I accept it. Offering services in an urban area is very different from offering services in a rural area. That's what I heard him say. And perhaps the people who do that formula forgot giving service in an urban area with very high densities. Nairobi is only 696 square kilometers. Is much more expensive. And what he's saying is there was a problem there. But because of political incongruence, because of personality clashes, because of egos, they could not come together, maybe an opposition-led county government and a national government, to resolve that. That's why, Mweke, we have begged Nairobians and they have accepted. On 9th, they are giving us Jubilee from president to deputy and to governor. We are going to be so alive when I walk into deputy president William Ruto, asema hiyo tumepewa, hiyo chukueni. Simuko kunao kwa manifesto hiyo iendelee. Let me finish. I didn't now you come back a point. So we are going to have political congruence, and we are telling citizens, just listen to the incumbent saying the difficulty of having a government that doesn't match politically. Then secondly, the one thing I think that was missed, the one thing that they missed was governance. People make the difference real. That's another thing I've learned in leadership. People, not laws, not subsection 344. People make the difference real. Mike Mbuvi Sonko has made a real difference with Sonko Rescue Team. And anyone who besmirches Sonko Rescue Team, you lose 100,000 votes automatically in Nairobi. I can tell you now, because of the work that Sonko Rescue Team has done. Every time you speak negatively of Sonko Rescue Team, you lose 200,000 votes. That I can assure you, because I know and I have participated in Sonko Rescue Team before I even came into politics. And secondly, when I say governance,
part of the Sonko
no, I can tell you, in terms of governance, the biggest failure of the incumbent governor was he did not assemble the most important job of a governor. And I have told Mike Mbuvi Sonko, and I'm repeating it to him because he has told me say it even in public, is who you assemble to join your county public service board, because that's a very important board that the governor himself appoints, of course with the help of the deputy. If you, maybe Mweke can't say it on national TV, but I think they've really failed the county of Nairobi, the county public service board. And if Mweke was even given an opportunity speaking in private, he'd have selected different people, because those people are supposed to hold the civil service accountable, drive certain things. And that is why the 2013, 2014, 2015 Auditor General report was very bad for Nairobi County. They said Nairobi County is not a going concern. They said you don't even know how much revenue you collect. They said you don't have even a fixed asset register. You have no liabilities register. In fact, he couldn't give an opinion on Nairobi County. So for me, that's the biggest failure, and that's why everything else has broken down. And to close with my health point, Kisii spends 2,600 shillings per person in the last 5 years on health. Nairobi County spends 250 per person on health.
Wow. Okay. You do the mathematics, you'll respond to that.
Yeah.
The issue of informal settlements, I'd asked you that, but let's come to you. Informal settlements. Half of Nairobi lives in informal settlements. How do we resolve that? As our Deputy Governor says, it is impossible to even take these services that you're talking about here, proper sewerage, proper water, transport, fire services. It is almost impossible to take these services to them. Yet, they're part of Nairobi.
Yeah, they're part of Nairobi. Let me just give you an example of Kaloleni. Kaloleni sits on 900 acres of land. Yeah? You can do something very simple. you can take maybe 10 acres. And the 900 acres it sits on has 900 homes. You can actually build flats on 10 acres, yeah, and take the 900 homes and put them into those flats. And don't sell those houses to them at 800 million, because at 8 million, because these are people who are paying rent of 1,000 to the council. Yeah, you tell them we are doing this so that we accommodate you here, and you continue. You build for them nice houses, and they continue paying what they've been paying. All this space you have left with, there's a lot you can do with it. You can actually take Mukuru Kwanjenga, yeah, the people living in Mukuru Kwanjenga, and build at a certain corner, build for them other flats, and tell them these flats you'll be paying TPS, tenant purchase scheme, you'll be paying 1,500. They will afford it, because where they are living in pathetic situations, where they have a history of fires breaking out. We always have fires there, and they rely on a fire engine coming from the center of the city, Tomboya, where the place is notorious with traffic jam. So these people, if you are serious and passionate of solving the problems of Nairobi, this can be done long term. And that's why we are saying we are the right people to come into this office and actually actualize what dreams these people have been dreaming.
I saw you and the governor going to this collapsed building in Pipeline, and that is one of the informal quarry in Pipeline, and one of the informal settlements. And every time a building collapses in Nairobi, it is either in an informal settlement or bordering an informal settlement, and the county government always says this is beyond us, this is because of laws and all these other things and courts. But do you think it is a problem that can be resolved? Is it something that you that your government is able to do instead of giving us excuses?
Absolutely. I'd like to respond just to two things real quick that were untruths. Number one, Mr. Igade spoke about political congruence. I have a very big problem with that, Fred, because that is divisive politics. What Polycarp is saying is you have national government and you have county governments. Our constitution says these two are supposed to be independent and dependent, because they depend on each other. Yeah, so you can't work without working together. Mr. Igade is saying that the only way people of Nairobi will get services is if you have a Jubilee national government and a Jubilee county government. That is a very wrong statement on very many levels, because you are telling the people of Nairobi, you are telling the people of Kenya that unless you choose governments that are like-minded, you will not get any services. I want to get away from this political congruence nonsense, because it really is nonsense, to political tolerance. We serve one people. I saw the Deputy President William Ruto say the other day that this 72 billion shillings that we owe Nairobi will give them when a Jubilee governor comes into place.
That is very wrong.
That is very wrong on very many levels. This is not a banana republic. We have a constitution that guides us, and it is the constitutional duty of the national government, no matter which party the president comes from, for them to fund counties non-discriminated. And so I just needed to correct that, because that is the thing that divides this country on such lines that people start killing each other as neighbors.
I agree with Mweke.
It's a very, very bad thing to say.
I agree.
Yeah?
And maybe to add something. You see, I can say the national government, it owes the county government 72 million and they're not paying. They're actually failing in their responsibility. Because if they don't pay, do they expect the citizens to pay for anything? They're actually setting a bad trend. And when you're elected as the president of the republic, you're supposed to serve everybody, whether they're in the opposition or not.
Correct. So you're not punishing Kidero and Mweke, you're punishing Wanjiko, Otieno, and everybody else who's
Fred, allow me to interject and say, I have spoken about the report, how much the incumbent government, and I blamed it on the County Public Service Board, have ignored the Commissioner for Revenue Allocation, control of budget. They've ignored the Auditor General report for the last 3 years. This thing about 72 billion, I think is what you call, it's a red herring. It's trying to distract you from the real issue. Here is a county government that does not know how much revenue they collect. Their revenue is collected by a third-party company.
That's not correct.
Who they pay 4.5%, 4.5% of every revenue transaction. Every revenue transaction in the city, 4.5% goes to a third-party company. The contract says, and I'm quoting the Auditor General, this is not my story, you should remit, the contract says you should remit that revenue in 72 hours. Sometimes they even remit over a month. Salaries have not been paid. We have said we are going to be paying salaries ourselves on the 25th of every year. By political congruence, what I am talking about is by deploying, it's much easier when you are aligned politically. That is a fact, and it's not debatable. Number two, no government has given political dividends to the whole country more than the Jubilee government, even in places where they've been voted for. Bridges have been opened all the way to that beautiful place called Mbita Point as you cross into Lusinga Island. If you go to Mombasa, development in this country is no longer held according to how politically aligned you are. And I can tell you, our esteemed leader of the opposition himself in the campaign circuit said he'll resign if my governor gets elected in Nairobi. Those were his words. So we are saying, I'm with you. When I say political congruence, maybe the word congruence in our Changamusha. But by political congruence, I don't mean that because it's this party that you join the other one. Congruence just means alignment of some
we're talking about informal settlement.
Yes,
I can see this issue.
Let's agree on some ground rules. Yeah, let's agree on some ground rules. Let's agree that we should be leaders that our people can trust.
Yeah.
So that we don't just come out here and make allegations without being able to substantiate them.
Yeah.
Because that just shows that we are taking our viewership and our voters as fools. Yeah, and we don't want to fool the public. Polycarp says we don't know how much money we collect. This is my phone. Yeah, I've just gone on my phone because we have an automated revenue collection system, which Sonko and Igade have said they're going to scrap as soon as they come in. At 8:07 a.m. this morning, we've collected 378,000 shillings, 533.
So why are you not?
This week we've collected 42 million shillings, 445,000 and 424. This month we collected 516 million shillings, 711, 141.
Okay.
And I can tell you how we collected it in single business. It's here. I know.
I think you're going to that and losing the bigger picture.
And I can look at it at the minute. So we know how much money we've collected.
But on the issue of informal settlements, is it a problem that can be resolved?
It can, and I'll tell you what we've been able to do.
How many governments does it take to resolve the issue of informal settlements, or to ensure that those people or Nairobians living in informal settlements also get to enjoy these services that you're talking about? Proper water, proper sewerage, proper roads.
It's a complex issue for historic reasons. 60 to 70% of our population live in informal settlements. Historically, what happened is the city grew without a plan. Yeah, the last plan that this city had was 1971 to 2000. From 2000 to 2013, the city grew without a plan. So everybody built where they wanted, the way they wanted. The first thing we did, this is to answer a missed opportunity that Mr. Shikanda spoke about. The first thing we did when we came in is we looked at the fundamentals. And we said, wait a minute, this city is completely broken. What is wrong? And the first thing that we figured out is you can't do anything else until you get a plan. So we went and got the first integrated master plan that this city has ever gotten since inception. It integrates your buildings, your electricity, your ICT, your garbage collection, your sewer, and your water system. It's called the new plan, Nairobi Urban Integrated Master Plan. So we got that going. That now puts a stopgap measure. It says from today, Nairobi will never grow without a plan. So that is future. Then we have to go to the back. The building that we have to go to the history. The building that collapsed in Kware the other day collapsed in the end of June. That building came up 7 years ago, even before the county government. It was never approved. And so when they started doing the outer ring, the vibrations for fixing the road, disturbed the foundation, which was not done well because nobody ever inspected it. It was never approved. We didn't even know if the building existed. Yeah, and it collapsed. So we went back and we created a law, because again, you can't do anything without law, called Regularization Bill, which was signed by the governor into law. It became an act. What regularization says is, listen, we know we have a historic problem. We're the first government that's taken a step on fixing that historic problem. So we said, if you know you live in Nairobi, and you live in a house that does not have an approval by the city of Nairobi, you need to come to us. We'll waive all the penalties we'll waive all the penalties. We'll waive all the fees. We'll even waive jailing you, because we have a law that says if it's not approved, we'll jail you. And that's why we have to create another law to say that you're giving us power to be able to do this. And we told Nairobians, go to an architect. If you don't have one, we'll give you one. To an engineer, let them come to your building. We'll make sure that your building is stable. It's not going to collapse. We will come and inspect it. Once we are satisfied that your building is fine, we will approve it and unlock the value of that investment. Because if it's unapproved, you can't even get a loan against it. Yeah. So we did that, and we even automated it. If you go to nairobi.go.ke/regularization, it will give you all the steps you need to do to come and make good your building. That made us go further ahead and partner with the Ministry of Public Works and the National Construction Association to do an audit. And we've done audits of over 50,000 buildings to see which ones are stable, which ones are not. So far, we evacuated, I think, 55 of them. We've brought down 15, and we have hundreds that went to court to stop us from bringing them down. So that is what we have done to solve this informal and illegal structure business.
On this issue, and as we come to the end of our conversation this morning, on this issue of informal settlements, do you think it's something that can be tackled? And do you think your governor, your candidate for governor, Mike Sonko, is the man to do it? What would he do?
First of all, I can say with confidence we shall beat them on the vote in all slum areas in Nairobi, because our slum upgrading program has already started.
You are benefiting from informal settlements.
Our slum upgrading program has started even before we have gone into office. And number two, we are going to make sure that there is a special plan. If you look at the statutes, every city should have a special plan. And Deputy Governor is right. Nairobi ran for a very long time without a special plan, but they are going to be leaving office even without that plan done.
It's done.
Oh, okay, good.
It was done in 2014.
That is good news.
Then we are implementing it right now.
Then that is good news. And if they have a plan that's being implemented, then you ask yourself how. And I have been campaigning with very many residents association. Everywhere you go, people are complaining, from Hadi to Buruburu to Garden Estate. People are complaining, how come this person then is being allowed? Then there's been very little enforcement of the law. So slums upgrading, the urban renewal program, these are things that we shall move with. We are also going to create what we are calling sunshine laws, and we are going to govern with a concept of governance called sunshine governance. Sunshine governance means transparently and openly, without harassing the residents. And we have a dream that when we win the first Friday, when we win the vote, we'll even publish in the newspapers where Akoblo will appear that day, NTSA, so that taxi people and boda can get business. So that when you are arrested at night, shauri yako. We are going to make Kenyans, listen, we are going to make Kenyans partners in compliance. We are not going to be punishing Kenyans with the trolley licenses, with things like those.
Gentlemen, I'll give you 30 seconds each for your final comments. No, because our time is up, and we have to. Chef Ali is actually in the house and cooking some breakfast, and we have to give him time as well. So then she can start with you. 30 seconds. Final comments. You choose what to say. Good thing all the candidates are here. It's only one that we were not able to get. We tried to get the deputy, the running mate for Miguna. We were not able to, and we do apologize for that. But 30 seconds.
I'm telling Nairobians, yeah, governorship is their life. It's not a party. It's not anything to go and vote in parliament or in the Senate. Choose the right governor. The right governor is actually going to change their lives. Choose Peter Kenneth and Dan Shikanda. Your life will be sorted. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nairobi. Vote for Mike Mbuvi Kioko Sonko wa Kivanguli. He's a competent, compassionate, accountable person who's been with you since he was MP of Makadara. He has brought me on board to be his deputy. Together we shall not disappoint you. We will make sure we leave Nairobi beautiful, prosperous and safe after 5 years, and vote in peace. At the end of the day, although we are very enthusiastic in pushing our own agenda here, let us remember on 9th, I will consider Mr. Dan Shikanda to be a Kenyan and my brother, Mr. Mweke to be my brother and my friend. On 9th, let us vote peacefully, and let's remember we are living in the sitting room of Kenya, 60% of our GDP. Let's not leave it to chance. We have done that for 5 years. Tusirudie makosa hayo. Vote for Mike Mbuvi Sonko. Thank you.
Finally, Bwana Mweke.
When you gave us this job, Nairobi, in 2013, Nairobi was ranked globally as the second worst city to live in. Today, we are ranked as one of the most improved cities to live in the world. We've done a lot of things in our first term: street lighting, healthcare, education. We've automated our system so that we can serve you better. We are asking for another term, and the 3 things we want to bring to life in our legacy term, second term, is our housing project, urban renewal, where we'll build 14,000 new low-cost housing for you, is our mass transit system, where we are going to finish up the Nairobi Metropolitan Transport Authority and bring in high-capacity buses, high-capacity trains, so you can move from point A to point B safely. And number 3, complete our master plan for Nairobi. Implementation of the same master plan was complete in 2014, so that we can ensure that services are brought right into your homes. So thank you very much for giving us a chance. We are just telling all the viewers and all the politicians, 10 days to go. Let's keep the peace. Let's campaign on issues. Let's not take our opponents as enemies. We're brothers and sisters, and let's all turn out to vote on August the 8th.
Thank you so much. Yes, brothers and sisters. Thank you, Jonathan Mweke, Deputy Governor Nairobi, Dan Shikanda, and Monica Pigade, gubernatorial running mates for Nairobi. These are running mates for the gentlemen who are running for governor. There's one who's not here, the running mate for Miguna, and we do apologize for that. This has been a discussion, not a debate, a discussion about the city of Nairobi. Thank you so much for your comments. I can only get one, I can only read one. There are hundreds. And this person says, imagine if those 3 gentlemen were to form the county government. You guys have it right. Your governors are the problem. Well, let's take a break. Our breakfast continues. Chef Ali up next. Good morning.